Hi, all. It's Amy Ludwig Vanderwater here with another day of keeping a notebook. Here is Betsy the Writing Camper, our meeting place. And here is the inside. I thought you might like to see where I sit while I'm talking to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm really glad you're back. I'd first like to just say a little hello to Mara. Mara, I know that you know how to make cinnamon toast and would like to know how to make bread. And I am going to send a bread recipe to Mrs. Robeck that she can share with you. Another thing, everybody, yesterday we talked a little bit about finding a writing place. You know, I'm speaking with you from inside Betsy, the writing camper, and I'm kind of wondering if any of you have found writing places of your own. It is kind of a good thing to find a spot where each time you write, you can be in that same place, even if you have to clear it off afterward, if it's a corner of the kitchen table or underneath a table with a blanket on top, or on your bed. But if you have a certain writing place, one thing it does is it helps your brain prepare itself for writing. Each time you're in that place, your brain says to itself, I'm back. So sometimes people even choose a certain writing time for that same reason, just to train our bodies and train our minds to be ready to get to the page. So today, we are writing together again and keeping a notebook, and I wanted to share with you what I did, and then you, of course, as always, feel free to take it in any direction that you wish. One thing I did, I mentioned I might add some color to my pages, and I did a little teeny tiny bit. On my quote collection, I added a little bit of color, and then I'm putting a little bit of color with my titles. And I also went and I have a little bit of color with today's writing, which you'll see in a minute. And I'm also playing around more with borders. I did find, when I mentioned yesterday, you can Google Zentangles. There's all kinds of sheets with patterns and borders. And I had a little bit of fun with that yesterday. So today's writing exercise, I am calling the story of an object. And so for this exercise, what I did is I thought of objects, and you'll see in a moment some other objects I might have chosen, but I went around my house and I looked at things, and I didn't really look specifically at this pine cone, but I could have looked at this pine cone or this thread that I used to sew the notebook together. I looked at all kinds of objects and I thought, what's an object that I could connect a story with? And I decided to write the story of getting Betsy because, after all, I'm spending a lot of time here these days. So what I did is I just picked an object, and I didn't make a list, but I could have. And then I decided I would write a story connected to this object. And when I write a story, one of the things I have learned about story writing is stories are really interesting when they have lots of different parts, not just this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So I included 4 parts of a story. I included the actions. What did my body do? I included what I was thinking and feeling. I included descriptions of what things look like using the senses, smell like, taste like. I don't lick Betsy the camper, but you know what I'm saying. And also dialogue, if there's any talking or discussion in the story. I try to include those different parts because that makes the story feel alive for a reader. So here's what I wrote. And I did draw. I mentioned I'd show you a little drawing colored in of Betsy. So this is the story of Betsy. And you'll see I started off and something happened. It was late one morning when Georgia and I drove the rental car back to the shop. Yes, I'll drop you off at your friend's house afterward, I said. We chatted on the way, watching the country roads turn to suburban roads as I told her about my accident. I was still a little shaky. But then I realized I was telling a lot of this story that wasn't very important to the Betsy part. So I wrote a little note to myself, get to the important part, Amy. And I started over again. Just beginning right where I see Betsy the camper. Driving along Strikersville Road after dropping off the rental car, I saw a tiny silver and blue camper parked on the left side of the road. I drove by thinking, oh, I love that. What a dream. I kept driving. Then I turned around. Why not just look? I convinced myself that a look was just fine, pulled into the driveway, saw the for sale sign on the window, and called immediately. Hello, I am standing beside your camper for sale. How much is it? The seller said, I'm actually out at garage sales right now. I'm not sure how much it will be. I ran my hand along the door. May I go inside? I asked. Is it unlocked? He told me it was. I opened the door and, well, the whole thing was none other than love at first sight. A tiny table with 2 benches, a small couch that pulled out to a bed, A wee closet, sink, and stove, wooden walls, mostly perfect, and an old-fashioned gas lamp. A mini home, a dollhouse on wheels. No one else could have it. I felt suddenly very possessive over something that was not even mine. It was mine. We talked a bit more as I opened closet and cupboard doors and listened to the seller. Yeah, I worked on it for 2 years, thought I'd go cross country in it, but now I have other plans. I texted a picture to my husband, Mark, who was away camping. The text said, "Look what I found." Moments later, I sent a second text. I bought it. For I had. No, I did not have the money altogether, but when I asked the seller, "May I please leave you $150 in the refrigerator as a deposit and pay the rest in a week?" the seller said yes. Now that tiny camper has a name, Betsy. I found her because I had gotten in a big car accident, totaled my car, and needed to return a rental on a warm May morning. If I had not gotten in a car accident, there would have been no rental car and no drive on that road at that moment. You never really know how a bad thing can somehow give birth to a good thing. So, this is the story of how I got this camper right here. And stories live in every single object. Something you find outside has a story. Something you're wearing has a story. Something you used to make crafts with has a story. Every object in your kitchen has a story. Every piece of clothing that you have in your closet or the sneakers you wear could tell a story. So just pick something, pick any object, and you might just stay right seated where you are and look around and say, what's the story I want to pick? What object? If I did this in Betsy, I might reach over here. Find this little pillow. It's filled with balsam needles. I could write the story of this. I love everything that smells like balsam needles. I wish I could send you the smell right through the computer. But you could stay seated, look around, pick an object where your eyes fall and just write about it. Or you could just go on a little hunt around the house. Walk around, find a few objects, place them in front of you, choose one to write about. It's a pleasure to see you again. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you'd like to share any of your writing, you may do so at #keepinganotebook, and take good care.
These are my pages. You can see I jotted down the 4 parts of a story. And this is where I decided to end with a fancy border. If you write the story of an object today, try to use these 4 parts. It'll bring your story to life. And see if you can write a whole page, or even more. Here are a few objects I can still write about. Each one holds more than one story. Which one will be next? Happy writing, my friends. I look forward to seeing you soon.